Tonight, breaking news, President Trump and his medical condition, his new diagnosis, what the White House has now revealed about the president's condition. Tonight, those images of President Trump sparking concern for weeks. Images online and questions about his health. The president seen with bruises on his hands and swelling in his legs. What the White House is now saying tonight about the diagnosis. Also tonight, there are flash flood threats as we come on the air. Severe storms from New York to Maine. Also, the deadly lightning strike at a Cub Scout gathering at a camp in New Jersey. Along the Gulf Coast at this hour, a tropical system now closing in with life-threatening rip currents. Lee Goldberg standing by with the forecast. He's tracking it all for us. Tonight, the chilling new report here, the deadly crash of that passenger jet seconds after takeoff. Tonight, the Wall Street Journal now reporting U.S. officials believe the captain intentionally cut the fuel to both engines. The co-pilot reportedly shocked, asking, why did you just cut off the fuel? More than 240 people were killed. Tonight, the growing pressure over the Jeffrey Epstein files. The White House now saying President Trump does not want a special counsel to investigate, amid a growing number of Republicans now calling for the files to be released. The president attacking some of his own supporters, calling them stupid people for pushing for more information. Tonight, the horrific murder, a paddleboarder in Maine found strangled. And now, weeks later, authorities tonight on the arrest. They say the suspect is a 17-year-old boy, sources say on vacation there with his family. There's also news tonight about a record-breaking skydiver, his stunts known by the world. Felix Baumgartner has died, killed in a paragliding accident, smashing into the side of a hotel pool. Tonight, along the East Coast, the former pro baseball player, husband and father, swept to sea by a rip current. His family witnessing the whole thing as he was trying to save another family from rip currents. Tonight, the NFL star sentenced for a high-speed crash, injuring several people. How long will he spend behind bars? This evening, the tributes to singer and actress Connie Francis.
Pretty little baby.
Rising to fame, overcoming heartbreak and hardship, and how her hit song Pretty Little Baby made a recent comeback on TikTok. And tonight, Disneyland turning 70. This evening, we take you to the happiest place on earth to mark the anniversary.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. It is great to have you with us here on a very busy Thursday night. We begin tonight with President Trump, his medical condition, and the new diagnosis. The White House coming forward tonight after growing concern over images online and elsewhere that show the president with swelling in his legs and bruising in his hands. Tonight, a memo from the physician to the president saying tests revealed chronic venous insufficiency, referencing the veins in his legs, calling it a, quote, benign and common condition often found in people over 70. Doctors telling us tonight it's a condition where there isn't adequate blood flow in the veins in the legs, which can cause swelling. It can also affect the arms, but we're told most often it's the legs. As for the bruising on the president's hands, the White House doctor says it comes from, quote, frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which the doctor notes is taken as part of the president's cardiovascular prevention regimen. Tonight, the White House insisting the president is in excellent health. ABC's chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce with the images that caused alarm and the diagnosis tonight.
Tonight, the White House addressing the pictures of President Trump that have been raising questions and concerns online. The president with bruises on his hands and swelling in his legs.
In the effort of transparency, the president wanted me to share a note from his physician with all of you today.
The president's doctor saying several ultrasounds revealed chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition. Doctors tell us it means there isn't adequate blood flow to the veins in the legs, which can cause swelling.
Essentially, this is a problem with the blood vessels, more specifically a problem with the veins that are in charge of returning blood back to the heart.
The president's condition is common among seniors. It's most often seen in the legs, but can sometimes present in the arms. Though it's not considered serious, it can be painful. The White House says Trump himself is not in any pain.
Nope, no discomfort from the president at all, and you probably all see that on a day-to-day basis. He's working around the clock.
As for those bruises on the president's hands, which he's been covering with makeup, the White House doctor calls them consistent with minor soft tissue irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin.
The president remains in excellent health, which I think all of you witness on a daily basis here.
Now, the White House hasn't specified how the president is being treated, but experts tell us that treatment typically includes medication to increase blood flow, elevating the legs, or even minor surgical procedures if necessary. David.
Mary Bruce leading us off at the White House tonight. Mary, thank you. Tonight there are flash flood threats as we're on the air right now. Storms yet again, this time stretching from New York to Maine, and a deadly lightning strike at a Cub Scout gathering. That lightning strike at a Cub Scout archery event in New Jersey. One man was killed, a 61-year-old archery instructor. 8 children injured. The youngest was just 7 years old. And that flood threat for more than 18 million Americans, really across multiple states tonight, particularly dangerous in the burn scar areas of New Mexico. And add to it all a tropical system we're now watching right along the Gulf, several states, spawning life-threatening rip currents. Meteorologist Lee Goldberg is tracking it all, and ABC's Alex Perez with the images tonight.
Tonight, powerful storms turning deadly. In Jackson Township, New Jersey, our Morgan Norwood on the scene of a lightning strike Wednesday night.
That lightning bolt slamming into the ground here at this archery camp. And though it didn't hit anyone directly, it claimed the life of a beloved instructor.
The instructor identified as 61-year-old Robert Montgomery.
That's where the lightning hit.
Gene Grodsky tried to save his life.
It was just like the finger of God came down and pow.
The strike happening during a Cub Scout event. 8 children hurt, the youngest victim just 7 years old. Extreme weather also wreaking havoc in the west. Torrents of mud along Highway 70 in Rio Doso, New Mexico, after rainfall rates of up to 2 inches an hour. In Kansas City, Missouri, cars stranded after up to 8 inches of rain. The fire department says they rescued more than 20 people. Along the Gulf Coast, residents filling sandbags. Officials warning of life-threatening rip currents ahead of that tropical system moving in.
And David, there's a flood watch here in New Orleans and for much of the Gulf Coast through Friday night. David?
All right, Alex, we're tracking the Gulf and much of the country right now. Let's get to Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg of our New York station, WABC. Lee?
All right, thank you, David. Flooding occurring right now near New Orleans. That tropical low near New Orleans won't become Dexter, but it'll still bring heavy rounds of rain through Saturday to the Gulf Coast. Specifically in Louisiana, we could have 3 to 4 inch an hour rainfall rates. Other flash flood trouble spots. The Southwest is monsoonal moisture. We've seen multiple warnings over New Mexico today. How about the flooding that's going on across parts of the Ohio Valley? That's tonight into tomorrow over parts of the Mid-Atlantic, and the severe weather in the Northeast. There is a tornado warning currently west of Holton, Maine. We've had multiple ones of those this afternoon. New York, Boston, Philly escaping the storms this afternoon. This is all driven by the big heat. Thankfully, some relief comes to the Northeast for at least the next day or two, but the heat remains in the South. David?
Lee Goldberg back with us tonight. Lee, thank you. We turn next tonight to a chilling new report about that deadly passenger jet crash just seconds after takeoff. More than 240 people were killed. You'll remember one person miraculously survived in seat 11A. Well, tonight, the Wall Street Journal is now reporting that U.S. officials believe the captain intentionally cut the fuel to both engines on that Air India flight. The co-pilot reportedly shocked, asking, "Why did you just cut off the fuel?" Here's James Longman tonight.
A new report tonight suggests that horrific Air India crash in June that killed all but one of the 242 people on board may not have been an accident. The Wall Street Journal says US officials believe the captain cut off the fuel to both engines on purpose just as the plane took off. In the cockpit recording, the first officer is heard asking the captain why he turned off the fuel control switches. The captain, says the Journal, told his co-pilot he didn't do it. But one detail is especially chilling. The Journal says the first officer panicked, but the captain remained calm.
If this was, in fact, a deliberate act, it's going to raise questions about mental health. Whoever shut the engines down knew that doing it just 3 seconds after lifting off from the runway would not allow enough time to get those engines restarted before the aircraft impacted the ground.
A preliminary report released just days ago found the fuel supply to the engines was cut off and was turned back on 10 seconds later. But by then, it was too late. The plane slammed into a medical college. This video shows the sole survivor. We were on the scene.
Hundreds, thousands of people live in this neighborhood. It's packed with people. And just 100 yards or so away from where I am, that is the fuselage of the plane.
The captain is 56-year-old Sumit Sabharwal. He was a veteran with nearly 16,000 hours of flying experience.
David, Air India says no issues were found with the fuel switches on its Boeing aeroplanes. The CEO has said it's too early to be jumping to conclusions, but his company is fully cooperating with the investigation. David.
But potentially what an awful turn, James. Thank you. Back here in the U.S. tonight into the growing pressure over the Jeffrey Epstein files. The White House tonight now saying President Trump does not want a special counsel to investigate, amid a growing number of Republicans now calling for the files to be released. Here's Rachel Scott.
Tonight, the White House says President Trump does not want a special counsel to investigate the Justice Department's handling of the case of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, something some Republicans have called for. 24 hours ago, the president ducking questions.
I have nothing to do with it.
But today, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says Trump opposes the idea.
The president would not recommend a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. That's how he feels.
The president has said Attorney General Pam Bondi briefed him on Epstein.
President Trump said that the Attorney General only gave him a brief overview of what was in these Epstein files. Does he have knowledge or an understanding of what is in the files related to Epstein that have not been released?
Not to my knowledge, and that's a question for the Attorney General, as I said, and the President has told the Attorney General if they have any more credible evidence, they should release it.
Is that evidence, would she have to run that by the President before she released it?
I don't think so.
Earlier this year, Bondi promised to open the books on Epstein and make the files public.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump.
But now the Justice Department and the FBI say the client list doesn't actually exist and that no more information would be made public. The president, whose FBI director and deputy FBI director long promoted sinister conspiracy theories about Epstein, now attacking his own supporters for demanding more information.
They're stupid people.
The president dismissing the Epstein matter as a hoax, a waste of time, and boring. But many prominent Republicans disagree.
I don't think human trafficking of young teenage girls being exploited by billionaires on a private island is boring.
Some top supporters now demanding that Bondi hold a news conference to explain her decision. But today, the Attorney General was far from Washington. She flew to California to tour Alcatraz, which Trump is hoping to reopen. She wasn't talking about Jeffrey Epstein.
And as much as the president wants to turn the page, behind the scenes, this is consuming a lot of time at the White House. His advisors meeting about this, trying to figure out a way to move past it, but many Republicans making it clear this is not going away, David.
All right, Rachel Scott, always good to have you here in person. Thank you. We move on now into the horrific murder. A paddleboarder in Maine found strangled. Now, weeks later, authorities and the arrest tonight. They say the suspect is a 17-year-old boy. Sources say on vacation there with his family. Aaron Katersky from Maine tonight.
Tonight, the shocking arrest and the killing of an avid paddleboarder who was found murdered on an island in the middle of a pond. The suspect, a 17-year-old male from Maine, who sources say was on a summer visit with his family to the rustic campgrounds east of Augusta, where 48-year-old Sunshine Sonny Stewart was last seen alive. For 2 weeks, state police have been hunting for her killer, even asking people in the area for DNA samples as part of the investigation. In her final days, Stewart was seen teaching her friend's daughter how to paddleboard. That friend telling us she knew something was wrong when Stewart didn't return home July 2nd.
The house was dark, like uncharacteristically so. In the back of my mind, I was wondering why I hadn't heard from her.
Sources tell ABC News Stewart's body was found on 100-acre island in Crawford Pond, her paddleboard located using a drone. The medical examiner identified her cause of death as strangulation and blunt force trauma.
It's a scary thought that, somebody around here has done something really horrific.
Stewart's loved ones saying Sonny's light was dimmed too soon.
She's a once-in-a-lifetime person. She's a fabulous human being, and I'm so grateful to have been in her orbit.
Well, police believe they've now caught the killer, David. They've said nothing about why a 17-year-old vacationing with his family would allegedly murder a 48-year-old woman. David?
Yeah, truly awful. Aaron, thank you. Tonight, a record-breaking skydiver, his stunts known by the world, Felix Baumgartner, has died, killed in a paragliding accident, smashing into the side of a hotel pool. Here's Trevor Ault.
Tonight, a tragic fatal crash for a world-renowned daredevil. Felix Baumgartner, known for death-defying stunts, killed in a motorized paragliding accident along the Italian coast. Local officials say the 56-year-old Austrian crashed into the side of a hotel pool. Just hours before, he'd posted this image on Instagram, captioned, "Too much wind." Known as Fearless Felix, Baumgartner gained international acclaim for his heart-pounding 24-mile jump from the edge of space seen in these videos from sponsor Red Bull. In 1999, he set the world record for highest parachute jump from atop the Petronas Towers in Malaysia. And in 2007, this stunning base jump from the 85-foot arm of the Christ the Redeemer statue in Brazil.
And David, in a statement, Red Bull says Felix was devoted to his friends and family, and he was born to fly. David.
Trevor Alt reporting. Trevor, thank you. Overseas tonight into a deadly Israeli strike on the only Catholic church in Gaza, the same church that the late Pope Francis used to call every day, talking with its pastor. 3 people died, at least 10 wounded, including Father Gabriel Romanelli wounded, who Pope Francis spoke with daily. The White House tonight saying President Trump called Prime Minister Netanyahu, who described the church attack as a, quote, mistake. When we come back here tonight, the horror right off the East Coast. The former pro baseball player, a husband and father, swept to sea by a rip current, trying to save another family, his own family watching the whole thing. Also remembering Connie Francis tonight, and the NFL star, the high-speed crash injuring several people. The unbelievable pictures tonight, the sentencing, and what this judge has just decided. Tonight, a former pro baseball player, husband and father, has died while trying to save another family from rip currents in Pawleys Island, South Carolina. Chase Childers, also a former Georgia police officer, was swept away in front of his own wife and 3 children. Authorities say he did that while saving that other family of 5, and they are calling him a hero tonight. Kansas City Chiefs star Rashee Rice sentenced to 30 days in jail and 5 years probation for a multi-car crash in Dallas. Prosecutors say he was racing in a Lamborghini at nearly 120 miles per hour when he lost control, hitting other vehicles, leaving the scene. He pleaded guilty and apologized to the victims. When we come back tonight, we remember Connie Francis, and you'll know her songs. And Disneyland turns 70. We're about to take you to the happiest place on earth. To the Index, Disneyland turning 70 today, called the happiest place on earth. It first opened in Anaheim, California on this day in 1955. Our parent company and boss, Disney CEO Bob Iger, with our Will Reeve tonight.
If you had 1 hour in the park entirely to yourself and you had a first-time visitor with you, where would you take them? What would be your Disneyland itinerary?
First of all, I would have to take them to Pirates of the Caribbean. That's my favorite attraction. You have to see the castle. You have to meet Mickey, of course. Just walking down Main Street itself is an experience.
Great to see Bob tonight. Iger says the park has new attractions in the works. Happy 70th, Disneyland. Incredible place. When we come back tonight, remembering Connie Francis and her famous song that's become a hit all over again. Funny tonight here, remembering Connie Francis, her rise to fame, her triumph over heartache, and her song, now famous again. She was an American favorite. Connie Francis dominated the Billboard pop charts for years.
Hey, set me free. Stupid Cupid, stop picking on me.
Dozens of top 100 songs.
It's a very big hit record. Miss Connie Francis.
Her first hit, Who's Sorry Now, debuted in 1958.
Who's sorry now? Who's sorry now?
A string of chart-topping songs followed. Lipstick on Your Collar, 1959.
'Cause the lipstick on your collar told a tale on you, yeah.
In 1960, she was just 21 when she became the first solo female artist to achieve a #1 hit with her song Everybody's Somebody's Fool.
'Cause everybody's somebody's fool.
In 1961, during the Cold War, singing for American troops in West Berlin.
Where the boys are, my true love will be.
And just this summer, decades after her 1962 song Pretty Little Baby came out, it went viral, becoming a hit again on TikTok.
Pretty little baby.
So many lip-syncing to it, including the Broadway actress who is currently playing her in the musical Just in Time.
Pretty little baby.
And it was just last month, Connie Francis responding to all of the new attention.
I'm flabbergasted and excited about the huge buzz. Truly overwhelming for me. Thank you, TikTok.
Tonight, Connie Francis, in her own words.
I've learned that life isn't an interruption to a career.
And there are many things that I've always wanted to do and never had a chance to do, and I'm doing them now.
Sorry, no.
Celebrating Connie Francis tonight, an American gift. Good night.
David Muir, the most watched newscast in America. And now, ABC's World News Tonight has won the Emmy for Best Live News Program for the third year in a row.